Welcome to El Profe's Classroom. Class is in session. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Um, a couple of weeks ago, I recorded with my friend Hector, the chill dude on the couch, um, a video for his series, Is It That Bad? Where we sit down and talk about an album who might have gotten mixed reviews. Sometimes they've all gotten like really bad reviews. But most of the time it's mixed reviews. So we listen to the album and have a panel and discuss the album and see if the album is really that bad or is not that bad, and we save it. So for a couple of weeks ago, we did an album by a band I'd heard about all my life but never actually listened to, and that band is Alter Bridge. We did the album Walk the Sky. So while I was talking to the panel, I was telling them how I never really gotten into Alter Bridge, maybe because of misconceptions from them being a band that came out of the what would be the dying embers at that moment of Creed, of the band Creed, a band that I didn't really like at all. Even though they had a couple of good songs, I couldn't stand them. So I decided to do a retrospective. Go back, listen to all of Alter Bridge's albums, and see if I was right in not listening to them at all, or if I was wrong. And I'll admit to it. I don't care. I'm honest. I'll tell you if I don't like something and if I like something, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. So for the first album, is the first album on the catalog, One Day Remains, and of course I wanted to talk about the band. I'm not even gonna go into the story of the band or anything like that, but the band was basically former members of Creed, and they added it's Mike Tremonti on guitar, Scott Phillips on drums, and Brian Marshall on bass, and they added Myles Kennedy on vocals. So they released this album, and general opinion about this album, One Day Remains, is that it's definitely not one of those albums that I'm gonna go back to again. And it's not saying that it's bad. I don't think it's bad. I just think it is a band trying to find their sound. And what do I mean by this? And I read about this a little bit later after listening to the album, and I kind of confirmed, I think, my thoughts. But it felt for me a little bit like they were trying, or it was still in their DNA to be a little bit like Creed, and it wasn't my thing really. But I think there's still some really, really good songs here that really give you a vision of how good this band could be for me. And if you like this album, I'm not saying that you shouldn't like it, because I think it's definitely for a certain fan base who likes this type of music. It's not my thing, but I think it's an interesting album, and I think you can tell that the band is still in its initial stages of finding their sound. And that's not anything, that's not a knock. Not everybody can have an incredible first album. It doesn't happen that often. So basically I think there's some really good stuff here. I wanted to mention, obviously I already listened to Walk the Sky, and one of the things I mentioned was I know that Mark Tremonti is an incredible guitarist. I've heard his solo album, and I know what he can do. So that Walk the Sky album felt a little bit lacking in the guitar playing department. Uh, Probably the song style was not made for solos or for, but I didn't find like any like really memorable riffs or anything like that. It, when it comes to um, Myles Kennedy, I felt like they were doing too much. In this is talking about Walk the Sky. They were doing too much effects on his vocals when he's so good, and he delivers that here for me. I think whenever you don't mess with a great singer's voice, it really shines. And I think there's a couple of songs here that really I did not like. I think I would say probably Down to My Last was not one of my favorites. It was, like I said, too much of the Creedness for me. Felt like Creed-esque, Creed light, something like that. um, uh, I think Shed My Skin I thought was a weaker song, and it's it's one of those albums that I, like I said, I'll pick a song, I'll pick a couple of songs, and then the rest I'm not listening to it again. Um, some of my thoughts on some of the songs, I'm not gonna touch on all of them, but for example, One Day Remains, I remember having heard this song before. This was not a new song for me, and I think I didn't feel, it's kind of a weird song, but I wanted to mention it because at first I kind of enjoyed the chugging type of sound, but then it sort of like stayed that way too much, and it was a little bit too monotone. But then, you know, Myles Kennedy's vocals really saved that song for me a little bit. But Open Your Eyes, it's one of those songs that I definitely remember. Um, but my opinion on that song, I think now that I'm remembering, listening to this album, I think I listened to this track and I was very underwhelmed. I didn't think it was really very good. It's kind of cheesy, and it was just not what I was into. And it has a nice solo. I'll give it that. But beyond that, I didn't love that song. I'd also heard Metalingus. That's if you're a fan of pro wrestling, you've heard this song many times. It's the Rated R Superstars Edge, or now Cope in AEW. If you like wrestling, then you'll know. You've heard it a million times. Um, so that one brought back memories for me. And then finally, I want to talk about Down to My Last. I mean, not Down to My Last. Sorry. Um, Watch Your Words. Watch Your Words. That's one of those songs that I was like, huh. I think there might be something here. I think if Alter Bridge continues to evolve their sound, this is something that I might be, if it's closer to this, something that I might listen to on my own time because I want to. So yeah, definitely a more metal oriented song. Unlike a lot of the other songs which were more Creed like for me, but I can't win them all, and I'm not saying these songs are bad or anything like that. I don't think the album is bad. It's just that it's not my style. So that's my thoughts on One Day Remains. In the end, when I do the ending video, I'll probably do like a ranking of these songs. So of these songs, no, these albums, and I'll let you know what I think the order of the albums should be. Might be doing more of this retrospective stuff with bands that I might not have heard before, or maybe I heard a couple of songs but never actually dived deep into their discographies. So that's about it. One Day Remains, not my favorite. Class dismissed.